The night sky above Earth had always been full of stars, but tonight it was different. The stars seemed to vanish, swallowed by shadows that stretched wider and wider across the heavens. At first, people thought it was only thick clouds moving over the cities, but then the clouds began to glow. A deep hum rolled across the sky, heavy like thunder that never ended. Every window shook, every street vibrated, and a fear spread across the hearts of those who looked up. From the darkness above, lights appeared. They were not stars, not meteors, not anything human eyes had ever known. They were massive alien warships, each larger than the tallest mountains, floating silently at first, then roaring as their engines fired. They moved in perfect formation, covering the skies of entire continents. It was no longer night or day. It was only shadow, broken by the glow of their strange machines. Across the world, people stared upward. Some screamed, some prayed, some stood frozen. The ships were too many to count, stretching as far as the eye could see. They hovered above oceans, mountains, deserts, and cities. The arrival was no mistake, no misunderstanding. The alien empire had come, and their message was clear. Earth was the next target. Then a sound filled the air. It was not spoken by human mouths, but every device, every screen, every speaker echoed the same voice. Cold, powerful, and full of pride, the message came. People of Earth, you will kneel before the Empire. You will obey. You will serve. If you resist, your world will burn. The voice carried no doubt, no mercy. It was the voice of rulers who had conquered dozens of worlds, who had never lost a battle. For them, Earth was nothing more than another name to add to their empire. Fear spread quickly. In the streets of New York, in the villages of Africa, in the frozen towns of Siberia, and the crowded cities of Asia, humanity felt the same heavy weight. For a moment it seemed like the end of everything. Mothers held their children closer. Fathers clenched their fists with helpless anger. Soldiers looked at the sky with faces pale and uncertain. What weapon could humanity have against ships that could block the sun itself? The alien fleet did not attack immediately. They hovered above like predators watching prey. Their arrogance was clear. They believed fear itself would break Earth before the first shot was fired. And indeed, their silence was almost worse than battle. Hours passed with no attack, only the humming engines above. It was as if the Empire wanted humanity to drown in its own terror. But deep underground, far from the panicking crowds, there was movement. Hidden bunkers lit up with red warning lights. Ancient metal doors, sealed for decades, now unlocked with the sound of grinding steel. Screens flashed, codes were entered, and voices spoke in calm tones. Humanity had been waiting for this day, though few ever believed it would come. For years, governments had argued. For years, nations had competed, but the threat from the stars had united them in secret. Now, as the alien armada hovered above, the world's hidden defense systems came alive, machines that no citizen had ever seen, weapons that had never been tested in real battle, silent guardians that had waited in the dark, unknown to the invaders above. The people of Earth did not know this yet. On the surface, they only saw the sky filled with ships. They only heard the echoes of the Empire's command. But somewhere beneath their fear there was something else, something ancient and strong. Humanity had always been underestimated. For centuries, empires had tried to control it, armies had tried to crush it, and powers had tried to erase it. Yet every time humanity had survived. And now, with the eyes of the galaxy upon them, they would face their greatest test. The alien commanders spoke among themselves in their own tongue, certain that Earth's silence was proof of weakness. They laughed at the primitive planet. They studied maps of Earth's cities, choosing which ones to burn first. They did not see the danger waiting for them. They did not know that Earth's silence was not fear, but patience. The night stretched longer. Clouds moved in heavy waves, glowing against the fiery engines of the ships. The oceans reflected the alien lights, turning dark waters into silver. On mountain peaks, soldiers stood at watch. In city streets, families held hands, staring upward. No one slept. No one moved. The world was caught between despair and the spark of defiance that refused to die. And then something happened. A single bright light shot upward from Earth, cutting through the clouds like a blade of fire. The aliens turned their scanners toward it, expecting to see a desperate human weapon that would fail in seconds. But the light did not stop. It climbed higher, brighter and faster, splitting into 3, then 10, then hundreds of blazing trails. For the first time, the Empire paused. For the first time, their arrogance cracked. The battle for Earth was about to begin. humanity's quiet preparation. While the alien fleet hung in the skies like iron clouds, the surface of Earth seemed frozen in fear. Cities grew silent, traffic stopped, and even the winds seemed weaker under the shadow of the invaders. The aliens believed that silence was surrender, but far beneath the ground, away from the light of the warships, a different kind of silence lived, calm, steady, and full of hidden strength. Deep inside underground facilities carved into stone and steel, humans moved like shadows. These places had no windows, no sound of the world above. They had been built in secret over decades, under mountains, beneath deserts, and even at the bottom of oceans. Few on the surface even knew they existed. Here, the future of humanity had been guarded like fire waiting in the dark. Red lights glowed across long corridors. Heavy doors, once sealed, opened with a hiss. Engineers, soldiers, and commanders hurried through the halls. Their faces carried no panic, only focus. They had trained for this day, though they prayed it would never come. The invasion was no surprise to them. They had expected it. The only question had always been when. Massive screens lit up with images of the alien fleet. Each ship was studied in silence. Every shape, every engine, every weapon was measured and scanned. For the first time, humans looked at their enemy not as gods, not as monsters, but as machines that could be broken. At the heart of one bunker, a general stood before his team. His voice was calm, but the weight of the moment pressed on every word. They think we are weak. They think fear will break us. But they do not know us. They do not know Earth, the soldiers nodded. Some were young, their eyes bright with fire. Some were old, their faces lined with battles of the past. All of them knew that tonight, they were not fighting only for their nations, but for their species. Hidden machines began to wake. Massive defense towers, disguised for years as ordinary structures, now shifted as armor plates unlocked and engines hummed. Under the seas, submarines that had never been named rose toward the surface, armed with weapons unlike any seen before. In orbit, silent satellites opened like steel flowers, revealing weapons designed for one purpose, to pierce the strongest armor of the stars. The aliens still mocked. From their ships they broadcast new messages. Your silence is your surrender. Your world belongs to the Empire. They laughed in their own tongues, confident in their numbers, their power, their history of endless victories. But what they did not know was that Earth's silence was not surrender. It was calculation. In one facility beneath the frozen ground of the Arctic, a scientist watched the skies through a massive screen. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of history. For years he had worked on weapons that people believed were only dreams. Now those weapons would be tested. He whispered quietly, as though speaking to himself. Let them come closer. In another hidden base beneath the sands of the Sahara, pilots strapped themselves into strange aircraft that no civilian had ever seen. Sleek, sharp, and faster than anything in the sky. They hummed with a power that even the pilots did not fully understand. The designs were human, but the energy that powered them was something far older, drawn from mysteries the world had kept locked away. Around the planet, ordinary people did not know these preparations were happening. They sat in their homes, watching the alien ships above, believing that humanity had no hope. But deep inside them, something stirred. Across every land, from crowded cities to quiet villages, people began to whisper words of defiance. Parents told their children not to be afraid. Soldiers tightened their grips on their rifles, ready to fight even if it meant death. The human spirit, beaten many times in history, refused to break. The aliens could not see this. They only saw a world sitting in silence, waiting. They did not understand that Earth had seen empires rise and fall for thousands of years. Humanity had fought wars, suffered disasters, and faced extinction before. Every time it had risen again. To the invaders, Earth was only a small planet. But to the people who lived here, it was home, and no empire would take it without blood. In the skies above, the alien commanders grew impatient. They wanted the invasion to begin, to burn cities, to crush resistance, to add Earth to their long list of conquests. They gave the order for the first wave to prepare. Engines flared, weapons charged, and the armada shifted into formation. But deep below, humanity was ready. Lights flickered green across control panels. A single word was spoken in dozens of hidden bases at the same time. Stand by. The quiet preparation was ending. The storm was about to begin, and in that moment, As the alien fleet believed Earth had already surrendered, the truth was simple and sharp. Humanity had been waiting, and the wait was over. The first strike, the alien empire had waited long enough. From the command vessel at the heart of the fleet, a single order rippled across the armada. Engines roared, weapons charged, and the sky above Earth filled with streaks of unnatural light. The first wave of warships tilted downward, their cannons glowing with fire that could melt entire cities in a heartbeat. Billions on the surface watched in silence. Screens across the world showed the moment the Empire decided to strike. The alien commanders wanted fear, and they wanted it broadcast to every corner of the planet. Bright beams of energy shot downward, cutting through the clouds like blades of fire. They were aimed at cities, at military bases, at symbols of Earth's pride. The ground shook. Oceans boiled where the beams touched water. But when the fire struck Earth's shields, the aliens were met with something they had never expected. The energy did not break through. Instead, it split, scattering into harmless sparks that lit the sky like fireworks. The alien weapons had done nothing. For a brief moment, silence returned. The Empire's fleet scanned again, confused. Their weapons were built to destroy entire worlds. No planet in their history had resisted such fire. Yet Earth had done it in the first minutes. In underground command centers, human leaders exchanged calm nods. The shields had worked. Years of hidden effort had not been wasted. Across the globe, ordinary people gasped. They had expected to see their cities burning. Instead, they saw the sky holding strong. Fear did not vanish, but something else began to take its place. Hope. The alien fleet adjusted. More weapons charged. This time they targeted the shield points themselves, striking harder, faster. The skies above burned bright with constant streams of energy. But again the shields held. A barrier of light wrapped around the planet, invisible until struck, shimmering like glass that refused to break. Then came Earth's answer. From the oceans, from hidden mountain bunkers, from the deep deserts, weapons rose. Towers that looked like ordinary structures shifted, revealing long barrels glowing with strange light. Submarines opened, launching silent shapes into the water, and in orbit, satellites came alive, transforming into weapons of their own. Without warning, beams of pure white light shot upward from Earth. They moved faster than anything the aliens could track. One of the Empire's warships, massive enough to cover a city, was hit in its center. For an instant it seemed to hold, but then its armor cracked, its engines exploded, and the giant ship tore apart in silence. Pieces of it burned as they fell through the atmosphere, crashing into the ocean with waves that shook the coasts. The first alien ship had fallen. The humans watching across the world erupted in shock. They had believed the invaders could not be touched. Now, they saw proof that the Empire was not invincible. The alien commanders shouted orders. Dozens of ships turned, scanning for the source of the attack. But before they could adjust, more beams fired. One by one, more warships exploded, their fragments raining down like falling stars. The alien fleet, once calm and proud, now moved in chaos, breaking formation, trying to defend against attacks they could not understand. In the skies above New York, a second wave of alien fire came crashing down, but this time Earth answered faster. Hidden aircraft rose into the air, their sleek bodies glowing with strange energy. They moved at impossible speeds, leaving streaks of light as they cut through the sky. Alien fighters tried to stop them, but the human crafts were smaller, sharper, and faster. They sliced through the invaders like blades through paper. One alien commander, furious and confused, sent a message across the fleet. This world should not have such weapons. They are not advanced. They are not part of the Empire's knowledge. How are they doing this? No answer came. Only the sight of more of their ships falling in fire. On Earth's surface, families stood outside, pointing to the sky. Children shouted as they saw alien ships break apart. Soldiers, who had once been told to wait, now cheered as they saw the enemy lose for the first time. The fear that had hung heavy over the planet was breaking. In its place, something far more dangerous to the Empire was growing: defiance. The first battle lasted only minutes, but those minutes changed everything. The alien Empire had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they had lost ships, lost order, and most importantly, lost their arrogance. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they had been forced backward. And this was only the beginning. The humans in their hidden command centers knew this. They did not celebrate yet. The Empire still had more ships, more weapons, more power. But humanity had shown its hand, and it was strong. The next wave would be worse, harder, more violent. The Empire would not stop until Earth was broken. Still, in the silence after the first clash, humanity had proven something simple. Earth was not prey. Earth was not weak. And the Empire's warships, no matter how many, would not last forever. Above the planet, the alien commanders regrouped, furious. Below the planet, humanity prepared for the next strike. The war had truly begun. A turning point. The silence after the first clash did not last long. In the command decks of the Empire's flagship, alien officers shouted in anger, their voices sharp and frantic. Never before had they lost so many ships in so little time. For centuries, their fleets had ruled the galaxy without question. Planets had bowed to them. Civilizations had been erased at their command. And now, a single world had humiliated them before the eyes of their own soldiers. The supreme commander of the fleet, tall and armored in dark steel, slammed his clawed hand onto the command table. His voice echoed across the chamber. Enough of this game. Send in the Titan-class warships. The order spread like fire. From the far edges of the formation, massive ships began to move forward. These were no ordinary vessels. Each one was the size of a small moon, armed with weapons powerful enough to split a planet in half. Their armor was layered with metals forged in stars, and their cannons carried energy that had crushed dozens of civilizations before. To the Empire, they were symbols of absolute power, the proof that no enemy could stand. The skies above Earth darkened further as the Titans moved into place. Their shadows swallowed entire continents. Humans on the surface looked up and saw only endless black hulls blotting out the heavens. Fear returned to many hearts. The shields had held once, but could they hold against these monsters? Inside Earth's hidden command centers, leaders and scientists watched in silence. They had expected this. The Empire would not retreat without sending its strongest. One of the generals leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. So they bring their Titans, good. Now we show them what they came for. The alien Titans began their assault. Cannons charged, glowing brighter than the sun. Energy waves slammed against Earth's shields with such force that the ground quaked. Mountains shook and oceans heaved with giant waves. On the surface, people screamed as the sky itself seemed to tear apart. For a moment, the shields flickered, strained under the unimaginable pressure. The aliens roared in triumph. They believed victory was only seconds away. But then the flickering stopped. The shields held. The Titans fired again, harder, longer, until their own cannons glowed red from heat. But Earth refused to break. The barrier shimmered like glass under a hammer, yet it did not shatter. The Empire's strongest weapons had failed. Then came the counterattack. From deep beneath the planet's crust, a sound began to rise. It was not like the sharp hum of ordinary machines. It was deeper, older, almost alive. The ground shook not from destruction, but from something awakening. Across the world, hidden chambers opened and colossal weapons emerged. Towers taller than skyscrapers rose from the earth, their tips glowing with a strange blue light, and then Earth struck back. A single beam, brighter than anything yet seen, cut through the sky and pierced one of the Titans. Its armor cracked, its engines burst, and the great warship that had ruled 100 battles broke apart in less than a minute. Its remains fell slowly, burning through the clouds until the oceans swallowed the wreck. The galaxy's most feared ship had lasted less than 2 minutes. The Empire's soldiers froze. Their commanders shouted in disbelief. This was not possible. Titans did not fall. Yet one had fallen and the humans were not finished. More beams fired faster, sharper. Another Titan shook, its armor peeling away as human weapons tore through its core. Explosions ripped across its length, and then it too was gone. A third tried to flee, engines screaming as it pulled back. But a squadron of human aircraft, small as insects compared to the Titan, swarmed it. Their speed was impossible. Their weapons cut through the ship's joints, disabling engines, ripping apart weapons. Within moments, the third Titan was helpless, drifting without power, before exploding into a silent burst of fire. On Earth's surface, the people watching screamed in shock and joy. The invincible fleet of the Empire was not invincible at all. Titans that had crushed civilizations were falling to humanity in minutes. The story of weakness, the story of surrender was over. Humanity had shown its true face. In the alien flagship, panic spread. Officers argued, shouting at each other, demanding answers. The Supreme Commander's eyes blazed with fury. How is this possible? This world is primitive. Their cities are stone compared to ours. Their fleets are toys. How do they have this power? No one could answer. What the Empire did not know was that Earth's strength was not only in its hidden weapons, it was in its history, in the countless wars and struggles that had forced humans to evolve, to adapt, to survive. Humanity had learned long ago how to fight enemies stronger than themselves. And now, against the Empire, those lessons became weapons sharper than any blade. As the last pieces of a Titan burned through the atmosphere, a single message was sent from Earth. Simple, calm, and deadly. Your time is over. The words spread across every channel, reaching every alien ear. It was not shouted, not screamed, it was spoken with certainty as if it was truth itself. And for the first time the Empire felt fear. Above the planet the fleet tried to regroup. But their formation was broken, their pride shattered, their strongest ships destroyed in moments. Below the planet humanity stood taller than it ever had before. The turning point had come. The war was no longer about conquest. It was about survival. Survival for the invaders who had thought themselves gods, and for the humans who had proven they were far more dangerous than anyone had believed. And somewhere in the darkness of space, as the Empire trembled, other civilizations were watching. The aftermath, Earth's message to the galaxy. The battle that had begun with arrogance ended in silence. Where once the sky above Earth had been crowded with thousands of alien ships, now there was only smoke, debris, and the fading glow of fire. The Empire's mighty armada, the fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds, was gone. The proud titans that had cast shadows over entire continents were nothing more than shattered wrecks drifting through space. The oceans calmed as the last fragments of burning ships sank into the depths. The trembling of the ground faded as shields slowly powered down. Across every city, people emerged from their homes, from their shelters, from the dark corners where they had hidden. They looked to the sky and saw something they had never expected. Victory. For hours, humanity had stood on the edge of destruction. Now they stood as survivors, and more than survivors, they had won. In the alien flagship, chaos had turned to despair. The Supreme Commander, once so sure of conquest, stared at the screens showing his fleet torn apart. Around him, officers sat in silence, their voices gone. The message from Earth still echoed in their ears. Your time is over. Those words had struck deeper than any weapon. They carried no threat, no rage, only certainty. The order to retreat was given, not with pride, but with desperation. What few ships remained turned and fled into the dark of space, leaving Earth behind. They carried with them not triumph, but fear. The Empire would never forget this day, and the galaxy would never see them the same again. On Earth, celebrations erupted. From New York to Cairo, from London to Tokyo, people filled the streets, shouting, crying, hugging strangers. For the first time, the human race felt as one people. United not by borders, but by survival. They had faced the strongest force in the galaxy and had not only lived, but triumphed. But in the hidden command centers, there was no celebration. The generals and scientists stood quietly, watching the data, listening to reports, ensuring the danger had truly passed. They knew the war was not over. The Empire would not forget. Others in the galaxy, watching from the shadows, would not ignore what had happened. Humanity had revealed its strength, and with that revelation came new dangers. The time of hiding was finished. The time of being ignored was over. Humanity had stepped into the eyes of the galaxy, and there was no turning back. A council gathered beneath the earth, leaders from every nation, faces still pale from the hours of fear. They spoke not as rivals, not as enemies, but as one voice. The decision was simple. Earth would not beg for peace. Earth would not ask for permission. Earth would send a message. High above the planet, satellites turned. Their signals stretched far into the stars, beyond the ruins of the Empire's fleet, beyond the systems where other civilizations lived in silence. Across the galaxy, anyone who listened would hear the same voice, steady and cold. This is Earth. We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. But we will never kneel. We will never surrender. If you come as friends, you will be welcomed. If you come as masters, you will fall. Do not mistake our peace for weakness. We are human, and we endure. The word spread like fire across the stars. In hidden colonies of alien species long oppressed by the Empire, whispers began. Could it be true? Could there be a world strong enough to defeat the masters? Could there be hope? In the halls of the Empire, fear twisted into rage. Their pride had been broken, their power questioned. The loss of ships could be replaced, but the loss of fear, the fear they once commanded across the galaxy, was something they could not rebuild so easily. On Earth's surface, life slowly began to return. Fires were put out. Wreckage was cleared. Families were united. Yet no one would ever forget the sight of the Empire's fleet burning in the sky. Children who had once cried in fear now spoke of strength. Soldiers who had once doubted now carried themselves with pride. Humanity had changed forever. The galaxy, too, had changed. For thousands of years it had been ruled by empires that rose and fell, believing humans were too small, too distant, too weak to matter. That illusion was gone. Humanity had not only survived, it had taken its place among the stars in the only way it knew how. Through defiance, through struggle, through victory. In the quiet after the storm, as the skies cleared and the stars returned, an old truth became clear again. Empires rise, empires fall, but Earth endures. And now, as the wrecks of the alien fleet drifted into the void, one certainty spread across every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had arrived.